think we could probably start. It's 9:59.
Great. Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Perfect. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jessica Rorison, and I'm working with Beaver River Community Futures out of Meadow Lake. And on behalf of Community Futures Beaver River, I'd just like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathering on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and the Métis people. We honor their connection to the land, the water, and the communities who continue to care for this place today. Now, if you're not familiar with Community Futures, Community Futures is actually one of only 3 Indigenous financial institutions, also known as IFIs, in Saskatchewan. And Beaver River is also one of 13 Community Futures offices located in rural Saskatchewan, and we offer loans, advice, and support. So as an IFI, Beaver River is part of a national network supported by NACA. So NACA is the National Aboriginal Capital Corporations Association. And through this partnership, we are able to offer specialized programming designed specifically for Indigenous entrepreneurs. And I was actually hired to manage 2 new programs through Beaver River, funding from NACA, and it is the Indigenous Youth Entrepreneur Micro Loan Program and the Indigenous Women Entrepreneur Micro Loan Program. So there is a short survey that will pop up after Josie's presentation, and then if you'd like more information, I would be happy to send it out to you. Part of this program is that there are dollars built in for training. So training such as this one today with our presenter, our Métis creative consultant, Josie LaChance, who's coming to us today from Roster in Saskatchewan. So she is going to be talking about branding like a pro. And I know I pretend to be a pro, but I'm not. So I'm looking forward to this session today with Josie. We hope that you walk away with some new skills and some new tips that you can bring forward into your own creative design for your brand and learn how to brand like a pro. So all that said, thank you very much for coming, and on to you, Josie. I am recording this session for the use of our new YouTube channel. So if you don't mind just keeping your cameras off and your mics off, and then after the presentation, I'll stop the recording and then we can ask Josie some questions. Perfect. Thanks, Josie.
Thanks, Jess. I was just getting this back up because then I messed it up, of course, right when you're ready to go. Give me a second.
Yeah,
There we go.
absolutely.
Uh, yes, hi, my name is Josie LaChance, and I am happy to be here today. Thanks to Jessica Rorson for having me and to Beaver River Community Futures. This is something that I'm really passionate about, is helping small businesses thrive in the digital world. And I'm happy to be talking about branding today. A first important step when you are starting out your business is developing your brand. So just going to kind of dive into that. If you see me looking over like this, it's because I have my notes on this screen and then my presentation over here. So just so you know, I wanted to just give you an overview today of what this presentation looks like, just so you know what to expect. Lots of times when we think of branding, we think of just our logo and starting with our logo. And the truth is that it's actually so much more than that. And a logo is actually quite a small part of developing your brand. And so this is what we're kind of going to cover today in this order. And I'm definitely the type of presenter that if you have a question, just pop it in the box, or you have something you want to share, just pop it in the question box or the chat box at any time, and we'll try to catch it and chat about it. So a little bit about me is I've been helping small businesses for many years. So, building and updating websites, managing social media accounts, creating content, and bringing brands to life through logos and marketing materials. So, basically, helping small business owners make sense of the ever-changing online world. I am a small business owner myself, so I can easily relate to a lot of the struggles the online world can bring to an already overwhelming plate of an entrepreneur. So today, when we're going through this, I really want to try to make it um, as simple as possible because I know that this part of developing a business is sometimes not for everybody. They kind of just want to start their business so they can do the thing that they're passionate about, and it's maybe not all of this stuff. So my approach today is how can we do this quick, but also still thinking about our brand and giving time and space to that. And then setting it all up now and having it done and having it ready to go so that you can develop a website, you can start your social media, you can start advertising. So that's kind of my goal here today. So when we're talking about a brand, like I said before, it's more than a logo. Your brand is definitely how people are recognizing you and your business and how they're remembering you and how they feel about you. So basically, your brand is what people say about you and your business, I guess your business, when you're not in the room. So, um, something I always think about is when we're traveling, say we're traveling from here to Edmonton. We prefer to stop at like a specific gas station. Say it's Co-op. So every time we're traveling, we know that if we stop at Co-op, they're going to have clean bathrooms. They have friendly attendants. They have full service. They usually have local people working there that can kind of recommend like restaurants or places to eat or things to do in the area. And so that to me is a huge part of their brand. They've created this and this trust between their brand and the people coming in. So if you're thinking about going and visiting a new place and you're texting a friend and you're saying, "Hey, I'm coming to the area where you live. Can you send me some recommendations? What should I do?" Hopefully, if you asked a couple people, they're probably going to send you a couple of the same recommendations. If those businesses have strong brands and have kind of built up that trust with people and provide good service and provide good food or whatever it is that you're kind of looking for. So those are things that I think about. How do I, like when I'm developing my brand, how do I interact with other brands? What do I feel about other businesses and other brands that I like? So yeah, an important place is to start when you're thinking about your brand. The brand is a combination of the visuals and the messaging and experience. So kind of just what I all covered there with going to like the co-op gas station, for example. Um, it's the visual, it's their messaging, and it's the experience that I have when I'm there. Um, Multiple things basically create our brand, not just one thing, not just the logo, not just our website. It's a whole encompassing experience and includes multiple things. So it matters because it makes you basically instantly recognizable. So if you have a strong brand that builds trust and has credibility and is consistent, then that's going to make you instantly recognizable to people in your community or people outside of your community or wherever it is that you're kind of more present running your business. Maybe it's an online business. Um, it also helps differentiate you from your competitors because not everybody has puts in the work with their brand, and it is such a huge part of your business in building that foundation. And so I always think, what do you want people to be saying about your business when you're not there? How do you want them to feel after they leave? Whether that's like physically leaving your like brick and mortar building space, or interacting with you online or however it is, over the phone, via email, how do you want people to feel? So that's something that we're going to think about and have in the back of our minds when we're building our brand. And these are all things that you can kind of make note of as we're talking and going through this today. Definitely have a notepad and a pen beside you, and anything that comes to mind when we're talking about these things, um, write it down, just even a jot note, because then that can help you later when you're going back to build your brand. You've kind of already started thinking about this a little bit, and any word or feeling or emotion or color or whatever that's popping into your mind about your brand, just jot it down, and that will help you out later. Um, so just want to take a minute to kind of think about the brands that we know and recognize and trust. So definitely pop something in the chat if there's a business that you know and trust and recognize by like their branding. Um, so maybe it's like before you've even seen their logo, you know that that's this brand. So you see the ad popping up and there's nothing about their business mentioned yet, but you know that that's going to be for McDonald's, or you know that that's going to be for Nike or whatever those brands are that are popping into your head. Those are the ones that are popping into my head at the moment. Um, what do we notice about that? What have they created? When you see, I'm going to use McDonald's because this is the one that's in my head right now, which seems kind of funny. But if we're talking about McDonald's, you know, we're thinking about happy. That's like a message that they're always putting up there. And how do they carry that through their brand? Well, they have the Happy Meals. They have their big M that in their commercials, they turn it into a happy face, right? So I'm thinking red and I'm thinking yellow and I'm thinking happy and how they're all tying that together. So I just encourage you to kind of use your mind a little bit in that way of the brands that you interact with, or maybe you have in your community, or the brand that you're building. What is it that what's popping out to you? I'm just going to see here. I see some people. Yeah, Target, Starbucks, those are all very, very good and reputable brands. Costco, quality brands and good customer service. Absolutely. I think about the same thing with places like Starbucks, for example. You know that if you're traveling around and you go to Starbucks and you want to get just your regular drink, it's most likely going to taste the same there than it does at the Starbucks you go to at home. Um, so things like that, that consistency that we all sort of like and need, especially if we're not super adventurous or we don't like to try a lot of new things. We just want our regular cup of coffee. I always feel like that when you're traveling, you just want a good cup of coffee and you're staying in a hotel and maybe it's not that great. So just using your mind in that way of thinking of other brands. What do you recognize? How do they make you feel? Um, kind of going from there. So those are great examples. I would agree with all of those. Yeah. All right. So now we've kind of talked about what the brand is and um, how we're gonna start. We want to start with clarity before we get into the creativity part. So before the visuals, you definitely need that clarity. Who is your ideal client? Think about that. Who are you targeting? Are you targeting youth? Are you targeting seniors? Are you targeting people that are online? Are you targeting a specific demographic, whether that's like fishing, people who are going to plan like a fishing trip, those kinds of things. Who is your ideal client? Write that down. What problem do you solve, or like who do you help and why should they choose you? Those are big questions to ask and include in your branding. People want to know why they should choose you over someone else who maybe has the same product. If you think of maybe a hairstylist, what is it that sets you apart from your competition and why should they choose you? Um, Again, going back to the full circle, sort of including your experience and everything together. since we're on the hairstylist topic, the place that I go to, their branding that you see online and outside their store and in their print advertising, um, it matches. It's exactly what you, how do I say? When you walk into their store, it's exactly, or their business, it's exactly what you would expect it to be based off of their website and their social media and the visual on the outside. And so that to me is like a total overall brand. What's the word I'm looking for? The full circle. They've put in the work to make sure everything is consistent, and people know that it's all connected. So you want to kind of feel that, right? When you're thinking about your brand, you want it to be cohesive and you want it to be consistent. Um, and that's something I think about too. But also, what are you doing inside your store that maybe sets you apart? Are you offering a special drink? Do you have more people on the floor to help? Do you have more experience? Have you been fishing in this area for your entire life and you know the entire area off the back of your hand? What are the experiences or what is it that you offer that's going to set you apart? Thinking about every business here, trying to kind of include them all in when I'm talking here. So, again, what values does your business stand for? And how do you want people to feel when they interact with your brand? So, kind of things I've already mentioned in there, but very important to just even jot down. It's not something that you have to necessarily write out um, on a website or promote, but it's something for you to have written down and in your sort of little brand package. And when I say brand package, I'm just thinking like even a one-page document where you're going to write all of this stuff down. So then when you do have an employee or um, something like that, you can say, hey, here is our brand foundation. And this is how I want people to feel when they come here. And this is what we stand for. So it's not something that necessarily has to be promoted, but something that's like internalized within your staff or even just for you to remember. Sometimes I always think of February as a hard month in small business because it's cold and it's usually a little bit slower. And so remembering our why, and that's maybe something you go back to later. And yeah. So, anyways, your brand should speak directly to your ideal audience. So, we talked about that ideal client and not everyone. So, chances are, if it speaks to everyone, it's most likely too generic and not really targeting who you want. So, sometimes I don't know if everybody feels like that. I know that I do. When you live in a small town, it's really hard to not want to just market to everybody and you want everybody to feel included and you want everybody to know that they're welcome in your space. However, you don't want to spend a lot of time marketing to everybody and you really want to focus on that ideal audience because they're the people who are going to come in and who um, they're the people that are going to spend the money and book the trips or the tours or whatever it is that you're doing. You still want to obviously generically kind of market because those people will hopefully spread the word or refer you or recommend you to other people. Um, but if you're an online business selling online, if you're only selling online, let's say you're selling clothes, um, for women mostly. Well, you probably want to mostly market to women online. So you're probably not going to do a lot of print material because you have to, those people then still have to go online to go buy your products. And if they're finding you by print and not online, what what are the chances that they are going to buy online? Like there's, all of those things to consider. So just really honing in on that when you're thinking of your brand foundation, who your ideal client is. Oops. Sorry, there we go. Um, Before visuals, oh, hmm. Interesting. There we go. So we've talked about our brand foundation, kind of those key points. Now we're talking about our message and our voice and our tone. How are we delivering our brand to others? How are we getting that out there? Your core message explains who you are, what you do, and why it matters. So it should be clear and consistent and authentic. So nothing too crazy, just has to be, um, again, what is the message that you want others to take away from interacting with your brand? What is it that you're offering? Um, Small business, this is really important, is your voice is your personality. So your brand voice is how your business sounds all of the time. And especially as a lot of businesses here, I'm sure, we maybe are a one-man show. Maybe we have another employee, maybe we're husband, wife, or maybe, we're a partnership with somebody else. Um, that your brand becomes who you are. You're running into people on the street, you're talking in your emails. You don't want to make your brand sound like someone that you're not. So thinking about sort of the options, is it friendly? Is it more friendly, or is it more professional? And this is definitely industry based as well. Um, if you're maybe more in like the sort of like let's say medical field, maybe it's a little bit more professional. But if you are a hairstyle, maybe you can add a little bit more of those friendly notes. So again, thinking, is it casual? Is it polished? Is it playful? Is it serious? Like just things to, how do you want your voice of your business to sound? What does it sound like to you, I guess? So pick something that feels natural to you and fits your audience, your ideal client, and stick with it. Um, where is this message showing up? So just going to go back here. We talked about your brand message. So where is this showing up? This is showing up on your website. This is showing up on your social media, how you talk in your captions, how you talk in your emails, perhaps in your About Me section on your website, in your marketing materials, etc. This is showing up everywhere. So that message and that voice and that tone that you're using for your business is your business. It's it's out there. It's showing up everywhere. Something really important to think about is write how your clients speak and not industry jargon. I think it can be frustrating for people when they come to a website or they're trying to interact with you on social media and everything is in that industry jargon that they just really don't understand, because that's not for them to understand. They're coming to you for a service. They want you to maybe bring it down to like how they can understand. Um, you don't need to sound corporate. We're small businesses. We want to we want to give off that friendly sort of community kind of vibe. Um, we're also using clear and simple language. Again, like I said, not the industry jargon. There's certain places for it for sure, but lots of people don't understand all of that. So something to consider when you're building your brand message and when you're building these components into your website. Where can you put the industry jargon and where can you just kind of bring it down into easier terms? Basically, imagine you're just explaining your person to, or your business to a real person, or even a teenager or a toddler. Like, how are you explaining your business to people? Let's make them understand what you offer, and what you're doing. If it feels awkward to say it out loud, then rewrite it. That's what I always say. If you can't really express what you're doing or explain it, then we need to kind of reconsider, and go back to square one and just rewrite our brand message so that when people say, "Hey, what are you doing now?" or "I heard you opened up a new business," or those types of things, you can fire something off that makes complete sense and makes them get it and doesn't make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about. Um, So continuing on this, your tone can change within your marketing, but your voice shouldn't. So your message should never change. Like, how can I say that a little bit better? It basically just adapts on the situation. So on social media, you're probably going to be a little bit more upbeat and casual, friendly, just really interactive, really wanting to like speak the lingo on social media with customer support. You're probably going to be more calm and reassuring, and sales, you want to be like confident and clear. And so just different ways that your tone can change. So just because you've decided, oh, I'm a really friendly and upbeat person, I do have to acknowledge that there are times where I'm probably going to have to change my tone, and how I talk about my business or how I deal with certain things that pop up in my business. So something to keep in mind. We're thinking we're still our same person, but we just have to kind of adjust, how we're um, dealing with those certain situations, like especially customer support. If someone's angry, we're not going to be upbeat and fun, and we kind of want to deal with that in a calm and reassuring manner. So, my tips for you when you're thinking about your brand message, is to be human. Like, we're not perfect. People want to connect with you, with real businesses and not polished robots. Um, One example I feel like with that would be when you just want to talk to someone at the bank. Like, I just want to talk to someone at the bank. I don't want to talk to the call center. I just want to talk to the person at my bank. So thinking about that, keeping that in mind, people want to connect with us and our business, and yeah, it's okay to show personality, and it's okay to have a point of view, and it's okay to sound like you because this is your business. Um, and that is really important, to sound like you. So, um, okay, moving on, to kind of wrap up the brand um, foundation and building our voice. I want you to think about your brand a little bit more. So whether you do it right now, you take a minute and just write a one sentence brand statement. Um, or even, something like pick three brand personality words and just jot them down. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just to kind of get you thinking about your business and your brand, or even your personal brand. Maybe you've already developed a type of brand statement. Um, and if you have something that you want to share for people to kind of see, you're welcome to drop that in the box. Um, but yeah, just to get your mind in that place and getting ready to build your brand and to do that work of the branding. Like I said, you want to have clarity before you get into the creative, and that's kind of our next step. So, um, yeah. Any questions so far on the branding part? If not, then I'm just going to kind of move into the kind of creative aspect
I
of
think
building
this
your
is
brand.
really important, Josie, because if you don't do this work before and you jump right into the colors and the logo building, often you will regret it won't match without doing the preliminary work. Often it doesn't line up the way that it should without this pre-work. So this is great. Thank you.
Very good point. I think, like I said, which is kind of why I started with that tone of it's not just about your logo and the colors and the creative. You really want to do this work first. And this doesn't mean you're sitting down for days and days on end to try to figure out your brand. We're just talking about jotting a couple things down on paper, getting that sort of figured out, getting the basis of our brand down so that we're carrying that into the creative. Because you don't want to go, like Jess said, you don't want to go and do all that creative work and then you go do the brand development And then you realize they're not lining up, nothing's matching. So, how can we do this work first? And like I said, we're not talking about days and days of work, even an hour. Will you sit and have your morning coffee? Okay, hey, I'm going to just think about my brand. I'm going to think about my business. And you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself. Just write some words down, and the rest, once you kind of get going, writing the words, you'll be able to form something from that. So that's kind of my advice to you. So we're moving into sort of colors, jump right into the creative part here. So when you're choosing your brand colors, lots to think about here because colors definitely bring out certain emotions. If you think about certain colors for yourself, how do you react with certain colors? Um, our big thing when we're thinking of colors is how can we be consistent with the colors across everything? So the colors that you're picking, um, are these the colors that we're going to use inside of our shop and on our website and on our social media and in our logo? Um, Kind of referring back to the hair salon, um, you know, tying it all together. So if you're going to pick a bright blue, are you are you going to go, how are you going to incorporate that in other areas of your business and not just your logo? So, something to think about. Yes, Jess made a good point. She said, and we can get confused and create a brand that we like, think versus thinking about our clients and customers, um, what they would be attracted to. So, very good point, Jess, there. So, here we have some examples of different colors. Just to kind of give you an idea, like I said, think about how you interact with the colors emotionally and what do they make you feel. Um, just because you like green doesn't mean that green should be the whole basis of your business and your brand. Um, so again, blue kind of brings out that trust and professionalism. I feel like you often see like accounting firms, or other businesses kind of along those lines. They have that blue worked in. Um, Again, continuing on, black and white often is luxury and simplicity. Green is usually growth and wellness. Neutrals are kind of calm and they're timeless. And bright colors are very fun and energetic. So, things to think about. Also, trying not to, if you're, not to fall into like the trends. And if your business has nothing to do with sort of like a retro brand, then developing a retro logo just because you like the retro look of on the logo is maybe not going to work out so well unless you're kind of decking out your entire business with retro things. That makes sense. So here's the thing with including color into your branding. You really want to make sure that it works for you and not against you. So if you only need two colors, then only pick two colors. Don't stress yourself out here. I'm saying, choose a couple main colors, maybe choose a couple secondary colors, and maybe a neutral color. Hey, if you're like, I just want a green and a gray and that's all I need, then that's totally fine. Um, do what works for you in your business. This just kind of makes it easier, especially if you are doing web design or, sorry, having someone design your website, even with social media. It just gives you a little bit more to work with when you're building, like your content bank, let's say. So, say you're going to be really active on Instagram or Facebook. Well, if you have five colors, and you're rotating through those colors, but everything, all of the content you're creating is within those colors. It gives you a little bit more to work with than just the two colors, I guess is what I'm saying. So definitely do what works for you, but I think it never hurts to have a good palette to choose from. And even if you only end up using like your two main colors for your logo, let's say, um, you can still add in those secondary colors here and there. Maybe they're more so used for your website. etc. So I don't know if lots of people here like to use Canva. So a good way to do this is if you do use Canva or maybe something else, I like to create, you can see here on these, there's these 5 circles. So I basically just put 5 circles out and I just started going with colors that I liked. So I put in this sort of blackish, grayish color. And then I kind of continued on putting the orange and the more beigey color, and then this sort of orangey, reddy color. Anyways, and I just kind of kept filling them and changing them around and playing with colors until I kind of got to a palette that worked for me and sort of what I was going for with my brand. So this just helps. You play around until you're satisfied, until it matches your brand and your services and your products and something that you feel confident in that's going to look good together. Um, and then the thing that I always suggest that you do is here on this side, you'll see, so I've got my main colors and then I've got the hex color codes. The reason why this is important is if you're going to outsource a lot of your brand development. So if you have someone that's not you, that's going to create your website, that's going to do some of your marketing, that's maybe going to build you some content for social media, that's going to do your logo design, your business cards. This helps them to know, like, these are the specific colors. So there's no guessing. They're not trying to just match and hope that it works and it's a little bit off. These are the colors. So I always suggest once you've kind of figured this out and you've got your colors, this is something that you're going to add into your sort of brand folder. Maybe you have like a folder on Google Drive or just on your desktop or wherever. But you're going to go in there, you're going to put in your colors and you're going to put in your hex codes so that when you do have someone working on your business cards or your website, you can just send them this folder or this paper so that they know what your colors are. Again, setting yourself up for success is like a really big thing that I'm trying to help you as an entrepreneur here in this session. How can we do this work now to sort of make it easier as you go along to develop all of the other parts of your business and your marketing, etc. So moving on into font. So we kind of covered the colors. We're good with those. I've got 5 that I like. I've got some bold ones and I've got some neutral ones. We're going to go into fonts. And why fonts matter is because they communicate personality, and consistent fonts really help to create a polished look. So avoid using too many fonts because it can create so much visual clutter that it either just deters people or maybe they can't even read it because you've chosen a wild script that you liked when you wrote out one word. I don't know if that happens to you, but I will pick a font, like a script specifically, and I will write out the word and I think it looks great. And then I go to use it again with a different word and it does not look good. So something to consider. We're picking, maybe one font for a heading. And then we've got like our main body text font and then maybe an accent font, which we're probably thinking of like a script font or something a little bit more fun that comes. So I'm going to show you here some examples. So I was thinking, okay, I'm developing my business. What are some fonts that I think would look good for my brand? What I'm doing here is these are the names of the fonts. And so I've tried them in different ways. So my League Spartan font, I know I'm probably going to use that in capitals as well. So how does that look in capitals and how does it look in small? And then with my body text that I have the Canva Sans for, I'm probably going to use it just regular, probably not going to bold it, and I'm most likely going to use it in italics. So do I like the way those two look? Um, Then I've kind of picked two other sort of special or more spontaneous kind of fonts. This one, Bookmania, I've tried it in a couple different ways. And then here I've got this script one. And something I always recommend when you're thinking about incorporating script um, into your brand is write out the numbers, write out the punctuation. What does the question mark look like? What does the at sign look like? Are they legible? Does it make sense? Sometimes with script fonts, you actually can even use the um, at sign and those types of things. So just making sure that they're accessible before you kind of put in this work. So now that I've got some fonts, I've played around. Again, I'm using Canva here for this example. I'm in Canva. I'm just playing around with different fonts until I've kind of got something that I like. And then now that the reason why I've written the font names out is so that I remember what font I like to use. And then also, again, I can pass this along to my um, sort of design person that's helping me with my brand. So here is the example of the fonts being put to use. So the ones that I've chosen. Here's my business name, Hello Business, open 7 days a week. We offer, I'm just kind of coming up with like a generic thing, I guess you could say. It's not necessarily a logo, but it's using all the fonts that I've chosen in a way that I would most likely be writing them out. Um, and do I like this? So once I like this, I'm going to probably add in my colors that I've selected. And so I took away the background color here just so you can kind of see. So now I'm going into this and I'm saying, okay, I've got my fonts, I've got my colors. Let's put it together. Do I like this? Is this something I like? If it's not something I like maybe I don't really care for this red. I'm going to go and switch it out. It actually doesn't look good the way that I thought it did. I'm just going to go switch it out for something a little bit more neutral because I already have sort of this um, more yellowy orange color. Um, so again, this is why this work is important. Just giving yourself a little bit of time to play with the colors and the fonts and putting them together. So you can see how you like it because you don't want to do all this work and just then go to use the everything you've selected and then you really don't like it. Um, so put in the work beforehand and it will definitely help you out in the long run. Going over into creating your logo now. So we've done the work over there. Now we're going to go into creating our logo. And this is probably, I feel like a daunting task for lots of people. But once you've done this work, I'm feeling like, okay, now creating my logo is actually going to be quite easy because I've done this work. I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do and the fonts and the colors. So now I'm just going to put it together in a logo. Um, what makes a good logo is something that's simple and that's scalable, which is really important. Something that works really big and something that works really small. If you're talking about doing a billboard, um, does your logo look good on a billboard, but then does it also look good on the back of a small um, piece of paper, like a brochure or some type of advertising that you've paid for, or maybe you sponsored something? Is your logo going to look good um, in that form as well? Timeless is something to consider. However, I do think that your logo is something that can be changed. It's not that it can't be changed. Just lots of times we make a logo and never go back to it, and that's totally fine. But when I say making it timeless, I guess what I'm more so saying is not falling into all of the so many trends of logos and just sort of keep going back to that first one there. Just keeping it simple, um, keeping it easy to read, recognizable, things like that. Um, when you are creating your logo, how it is going to be used is very important You don't want to make it too small. You don't want to overpack it with information that can't be seen if you put it on a business card or a brochure, like we kind of already talked about. Um, Variations is definitely something that you do need when you are creating your logo. So definitely consider this. I see it all the time where people use thin, like really thin fonts that can't be blown up because once you blow it out, it doesn't blow it up. It doesn't look good. Once it's printed on a print material, it doesn't look good, like whether that's on a sweater or on brochure. Um, Lots of people like to like overpack their logo. So they're putting in their website, they're putting in their hours, they're putting in their location. You can definitely have a variation that is like that for when it's appropriate, but a lot of the time that's going to get so small that people aren't really going to see it, depending on how it's used. So something to consider. I like to think about having a full logo, having just like an icon. Again, going back to like McDonald's or Nike or Starbucks or Target, they just have that icon. Target has the Target, Starbucks has the mermaid, the girl with the right. Um, Nike is just the check mark. So that's what I'm talking about, like with an icon or a submark. Having a black and white version is great because then it can be used in any context. Because if you have a color logo and say your logo is orange and then someone goes and prints something in black and white, it's probably not going to show up as good as if you would have a different variation. And then having a transparent background so you don't get these big chunky blocks if you don't want them behind your logo. So I'm going to use this example. Bear with me. I wanted to do a little bit more of an interactive logo building exercise, but I think this is just how it's going to have to work for today. But basically, we have this business, ABC business, and they have a brick and mortar. And I'm thinking, okay, so they have this overhang off the front of their building, and that's like kind of a staple. It like really pops. It's in these specific colors, which is why their logo is and their branding is in that color. Um, I think that should be incorporated into their logo. It makes sense, right? So you're kind of playing around. You really are specific about this overhang or this exterior look that you have because you want to sort of bring it through into your marketing because it is maybe a history part. Again, it's recognizable. Okay, I created it. It looks cool. I think it works. Looks like the overhang. Now I'm going to go play with the variations. So I go over to the variations. Okay, maybe not how I look, like how I like it. The black and white one looks like now all of a sudden maybe I'm a music store or I offer piano lessons. The complete white version is not at all what I want it to look like. And it almost is like, what is that? So that's why playing around and creating different variations is really important because you can have a really good idea. And work on that and bring that to life. But then when you go to play with the variations, it really does not resemble your brand or promote you in any way. So definitely something to think about. Just again, playing around once you've created something, like what do the variations look like? That makes sense. I had a good chuckle at this because when I was playing around, I was definitely not intending for this to look like a piano, and I myself had no idea that that was going to happen until I did it. And yeah, so again, why it's important to play around with your variations. So, say you've got your business. This is Hello Business. This is maybe my full logo. I've got I've decided I'm not going to do like an overhang, or I'm not going to do any sort of crazy thing. I'm just going to keep it simple. This is my logo. I want my website in there and I want my location because for me that's maybe really important for my business sake. Um, then I'm going to play with some variations. I've got my full logo like we had on the last page. Then my variations are sort of in black, and then I've kind of included my little submark or my icon. Um, we've got it in white. We've got it in my main color. And then maybe I've also chose to kind of do a circular logo with my business and location and my icon. So the point of this slide is really just to show the variations and how they can look. And so to me, this looks clean. This looks simple. This looks like if this is on any type of material, like print material, whether say I've sponsored something or I'm a part of something or someone's advertising my business, I feel like this is crisp, this is clean, this is simple, this is to the point. Um, I have maybe because I have an online presence, I'm really comfortable with just using that simple logo because someone could just type in hello business on Google and my business is going to show up. Um, so yeah, once you've got these variations, you're happy with them, you feel like it looks good, you're ready to proceed. You've done it, you've created your logo. Download them, put them like as a high quality version, put them in a folder. Again, whether that's like on some type of Google Drive or on your computer, your work laptop, and label them logos so that when someone asks you for your logo, hey, like, again, like we talked about sponsoring, um, or whatever, everyone already asks, they ask you for your logo. Here's your folder. You pick which one works for you. And because I've already approved these, I like these, I'm happy with how these go out. The problem that you risk with not creating variations and just not having a folder of even a couple different logos that you can send off to someone is that that person is then going to create a variation for you. So for me personally, because I want to stay consistent with my brand and I want to make sure that it's promoted in the way that I want it to be, especially if I'm paying for it, I don't want someone to change my logo. These are my approved logos. Um, Again, part of setting yourself up for success, doing this now so that you're ready to roll. You can get working on your business stuff and kind of you've got the design and your brand all figured out. So I have two slides that are next. If you are a person that likes to use Canva, you can really just go in and create a logo. Like you can go in, put in the search bar logo, and you can see all of these options pop up and you can adjust them for sort of how it works for you, or even just use this as a little bit of inspiration if you need. Um, if you're just starting out, this is a really great option. This is just a great way to get started to create a simple logo, kind of just adjust them again. They're going to have their own font combos. They're going to have their own colors. Remember that if you are adjusting one of these sort of templates, that you just go back in or when you go in, sorry, you're putting in your fonts that you've chosen and your colors that you've selected for your brand. Um, yeah. So again, here's another example. You can easily find something like this that speaks to you and kind of just adjust it to make it your own. Um, I find this is helpful, especially if you're like, I'm not a creative person or like I have no design background and I don't really, this is not my area of expertise and I just want to get this part checked off my list so I can get to work on my business stuff, like just doing my business, my passion that I've started this business for. This is something that can work really well. So once you've narrowed down a few logo options and color options or sorry, font options and color options, you can put this together. Another suggestion is you could put together maybe a couple different options for logos and even run them by maybe a couple friends or family members or colleagues that you trust. Again, taking their kind of feedback with a grain of salt, but mostly just asking them, does it look okay? Is it legible? Does this sort of project my business? Um, do you know what I am when you see this logo? Like, does it make sense? Because they may pick up on something you miss. So it's never bad to have a second set of eyes if you have an employee or even your partner, just getting them to look it over and just kind of, you know, look for that something that you might have missed. Okay, last part um, of this session, just quickly talking about your brand images. So images are really important because you're using those to promote your business. And so pick a couple images that really help you with your brand. So whether that's like some stock images um, that you found, whether you're creating images, it's always great to have brand photos, even if it's like just a handful. Maybe you've taken some of the inside of your space. Maybe your business is really about outdoors things, and you have all of these pictures that you can use for sort of promoting your business. Just put them together in a folder, then they're always there and you can kind of reuse them. They can always kind of be a background image to something um, with words over top. Um, Setting up an area where you can just take product photos. So maybe your product photos are always the same and you have this the same sort of like background, um, whether that's like a specific tablecloth and then a a stick and whatever else. I don't know. And then you lay your product down and you take a picture. And then that's how you're taking pictures of all of your products, just to kind of show that consistency. And then when people see them, they know that's from you and your business. Um, so yeah, I'm not against using stock photos, but just make sure that they match your brand if you are going to use them and try to kind of limit the amount of stock photos that you use. Um, Something worth investing in is always to get quality headshots and team photos. It helps to build trust and credibility, and it makes your business feel real and it makes it feel human. Um, First impressions do matter when they're seeing you online, and it's so nice to see updated photos on websites and on social media because you can use them in so many different ways. Um, Again, something that is worth investing in, and you get it done once, and then you don't have to do it again for, maybe a couple of years. So it's really a small investment if you think about the upfront cost maybe is an investment, but if it's going to last you for a couple of years and it's going to really be able to help your brand, um, something to consider. Again, when we kind of talked about like taking the product photos or things like that, just making sure it's aligned with your brand. Um, just being consistent again. Um, I think this is also something every website needs to have, and even on your social media to post it. But it's about you. And if you're the only person for your business, that's great. People want to know who you are. They want to know what you do. They want to know how you're going to help them, why they should trust you. You can keep it light and industry depending. It can be fun and engaging. Um, it's a great way to get to know someone. So tell your story. Don't just, you know, it's not a cover letter for a resume. This is how people are going to decide if they're going to support your business, if they're going to hire you, if they trust you based off of these types of statements. And last but not least, I know I probably said the word consistency a million times today, but making sure that your brand is consistent across all of your platforms. So, where your brand should match is on your website, on your social media, on your email marketing, on your invoices. Upload your logo on your invoices, in your presentation, in your business card. So everything you just want it to match. That's only going to help you further down the line. You don't want people guessing, is this the same business as this business over here? Why are these colors different, or why is this not set up the same? If you're on social media and Facebook, like why do you have different icon images? Why do you have, some things might be a little bit different, but overall you want people to know that that's you. Um, So yeah, builds recognition, looks professional, and increases trust, I think are the main things. Um, some important tips to kind of end off on here is to create some brand guidelines. I know we kind of talked about this, just having a one-page guide, um, so that you can always refer back to, or if you have someone helping you out or an employee, hey, I've done this work to create this brand. This is how I would like it executed. Keep these things in mind when you're helping customers. Um, Keep everything together so it's easy to find when you need it. And always thinking about your ideal client. Who are you targeting? And not to copy competitors. It's okay to use them as like some inspiration to see what they're doing, but don't copy them. Be you. This is your business. Your brand should evolve, and it will, but it shouldn't always constantly change. If that makes sense. Um, Strong branding supports sales without selling, which is another thing because we always think we have to resort back to putting a link to buy something, but your brand will do the work for you if you build confidence in your business and create that consistency. I know we're right at 11 here, so I'm just wrapping up. But basically, strong branding helps build confidence. It helps clients understand, and it makes marketing easier and more effective. So save yourself the time later and kind of get organized now, and it will make it so much easier when your brand is clear, your message is clear, and your clients listen. So sorry I kind of rushed through the end there, but thank you so much for having me. You can join me again on February 5th if you'd like. I'm doing another one for Beaver River Community Futures then, and it's social media foundations again on February 5th. So thanks for joining.